Hello, I'm Jose Antonio Diaz from MacArthur High School and Diaz Music Institute in Houston, Texas. And on behalf of my jazz colleagues Dick Dunscombe and Antonio Garcia and all the members of the Midwest Board, I welcome you to the 2020 Midwest Clinic Virtual Conference, Staying Connected. Cynthia Plank has been teaching jazz at Beaumont Middle School in Portland, Oregon for 19 years. She received the Mary V. Dodge Award for Outstanding School Music Teacher for 2011-2012 and has been nominated 3 times for the Grammy Music Educator Award and was a quarterfinalist in 2015. During her time at Beaumont, the bands have received over 100 awards for outstanding performances in jazz, concert band, and marching band events. She has some great ideas that you can use right away to get your young jazz ensemble off the ground. Please welcome Cynthia as she presents her session entitled Yikes! Now we're teaching jazz band. You can start a solid program when you only know a little. Take it away, Cynthia.
Cynthia Plank lives in Gresham, Oregon, and has been teaching band at Beaumont Middle School for 19 years. Upon completion of her Bachelor of Music degree in Music Education and Teacher Certification at the University of Oregon, Ms. Plank went on to earn a Master of Music degree in Instrumental Conducting at the American Band College through Sam Houston State University. She received the Mary V. Dodge Award for Outstanding School Music Teacher for 2011-2012, has been nominated 3 times for the Music Educator Grammy Award, and was a quarterfinalist in 2015. During her time at Beaumont, the bands have received over 100 awards for outstanding performances in jazz, concert band, and marching band events. Ms. Plank is published in the series Teaching Music Through Performance in Jazz Volume 2 and was selected as one of School Band and Orchestra Magazine's 50 Directors Who Make a Difference 2016. When she's not in the classroom, at the gym, or on stage, Ms. Plank enjoys gardening, traveling with her husband Corey, and posting cat videos on Facebook.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cynthia Plank, and I teach band at Beaumont Middle School. And I just want to say how pleased and honored I am to be able to present to you some ideas on getting a jazz band started and making it easy and fun for you and the kids, especially if you feel like you don't know very much about jazz. I feel like when you're a new teacher and you mention the word jazz band to your kids, you're going to hear them say, I don't like jazz. Well, really, they don't know what it is. And for a lot of people, when they say, I don't like jazz, it's because they're thinking about people taking really long solos that just sounds like the person on stage is barfing up a lot of notes and it doesn't make any sense musically. So for kids especially, I think they're shy about new things and especially taking solos. And there's a mystique that jazz is hard. So anything that they're not really good at right away, they could be a little bit nervous about doing. So I want to come to this with you from a different angle and not even call it jazz band or improvisation and not even worry about the instrumentation of your band at the beginning. You can use this approach with all ages of students, middle school, high school, and even adults with a few simple adaptations. I feel like most musicians like to play loud and fast, and they like music with a beat, especially the kids. So if we can try to meet them where they are, and it's a little easier to take them somewhere new. So I think we want to make sure that we're exposing the kids to a wide variety of music, including, of course, swing and funk and blues and world music and pop. I think students today are used to instant gratification, and so the challenge for us as teachers is to keep the instrument in their hand long enough for them to have the skills to play something fun. Or maybe you can start them improvising and having fun when they're just learning to play, which is really fun. So if you can give your students a fun rhythmic experience when they only know 3 or 5 notes, then I think they feel like they're in control and they're doing something cool, even though they might not be able to play a whole scale. So I think you can get your students to improvise and not even tell them what it is. A fun way that I like to do that with my 6th grade bands is a call and response. So even when we're playing just one note on our instruments, if I play a rhythm for them, do, 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 they can play that back. They don't know what it is. They don't need to know that there's a dotted quarter eighth note pattern in there. They just want to play that back. Another way to make that really fun is to put Dr. Beat, your metronome, on in the background but put it with a cool beat. So the kids feel like, oh, this is something I know. And all of a sudden, they're playing one note, they're copying what you do, and they are improvising just a little bit. That call and response is the very first start to that. Once I get students comfortable with that, then I like to take turns letting other students create the rhythm that the whole band plays back. So that's a fun way to do this. When we're doing call and response, it's really important to encourage them to play in front of the band every day, to get everybody used to playing in front of the band. So when you have students do that, you want to encourage them at whatever level of success that they have found. So I'll say, your tone and posture were amazing. I really like that rhythm that you chose. What would it sound like if you played some notes short and some notes long? Would it be easier for us to copy that rhythm if you were tonguing? What if you played some notes soft and some notes loud? Just give them some ways to vary what they're doing, which will turn into things that they should be doing in their jazz solo. I think it's really fun to use the words what if we and open up your instruction to some ideas for them. What if we play this part 3 times? What if I play this note high and this note low? What if? And I think that opens up a lot of possibilities for them and makes it safe and fun and validates their creativity. Another important aspect of the what if game is it's the only way for them to experiment and find out what they like and what they don't like. And with your more advanced ensembles, it can help you problem solve to fix something in a tune that you didn't like. Why does this section not sound right? Oh, what if we only had the flutes play here? What if we had the flutes and the trombones do this part in unison? What if? I mentioned using the metronome to help your students find the pulse and make it sound more like music to them and not quite as dorky as tick tock, 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 tick tock, tock. So if you put that metronome on with a cool beat, you can really help them start to develop their sense of time, start to develop their sense of pulse. I will make my beginners at the beginning of the year shout one as loud as they can when they find beat one. And we'll do that for a little while. Sometimes when the students are just coming into the band room, when we're in a band room, I will put the metronome on and their job is to come in and get situated, and then everybody gets started on shouting one as loud as they can. And I think that helps them to realize that they can find one, they need to find one, and it's just fun for them to have something musical to do loud that is not just honking and squawking into their instruments as loud as they can, but is listening to a beat. When you change the rhythm on the metronome, you can make a samba, you can make a polka, you can make a swing thing, you can make a rock thing. It really helps them to learn to hear different beats, learn to internalize that steady beat, and again, find one. Finding one, of course, is their most important job. Once they get good at that, and I'll explain to them that we're using the metronome, and the metronome is your little drummer friend who never speeds up and never slows down, doesn't talk, doesn't drop their sticks, doesn't show up late for rehearsal. The metronome is your friend. And there are so many metronome apps now that have the ability for you to put on a great beat. I like Metronomics by John Nastos. There's just a ton of great metronome apps that you can buy, and they're cheap. Kids can put them on their phone and experiment by creating their own beats, which is really fun for them. Another really effective way to use that metronome is if you have more than one band section and all of your bands are learning the same tune so you can put them together at the concert, is to use that metronome set at a certain tempo to make sure the students get that feeling in their body right away. So, assuming that you did some footwork at the beginning of the year and you got your students used to playing different beat patterns and playing 1 or 2 measures at a time in front of each other, listening to the rhythm section on the metronome, now you can introduce a chart to your whole concert band, and preferably an up-tempo swing chart. With my 6th graders, I like to use Diamond Joe's Riviera Club. And by the way, I will put links at the end of the presentation to all the things that I talk about. Those kids love that tune so much. We have to do it every year. In fact, they love it so much. It's got a great Pink Panther hi-hat part. It's got a cool floor tom solo, really great bass line, trumpet section feature, and everybody in the band gets cool parts. The woodwinds get cool parts, everybody in the band gets cool parts. And I think it's important, especially if you're trying to start a jazz band, to do this with your concert band. Even if you aren't starting a jazz band, I think you owe it to your students to do a 10-week segment on jazz, because it's not fair for them to leave your program and not have had any experience with that. Just like I think they need to do some marching band, even if you don't have a competitive program, they need to have some experience with that. And honestly, I hope that you play klezmer music for them, and I hope that you play a wide variety of music and give them an opportunity to experience different styles on their instrument, because they may branch out into ways that none of us ever expect. Now you've given your kids a fun tune, and you can say to them, hey, if you like that, you might really like this. And go ahead and start an after school jazz band or before school, 2 or 3 days a week. Let anybody come who's interested and see if you can't get them started on working together as a group. I think it's pretty effective to start with a rock tune, honestly, and I like 25 or 6 to 4. If you need to go even simpler than that, the Standard of Excellence Jazz Method books, particularly for middle school, they start with this silly tune that my kids actually like called Jammin' with Charlie. And it's just a 12-bar blues, and they really like it. It makes it easy for them, and our goal is for them to be successful right away. So it's easy and fun, and they want to keep coming back for more. So I also recommend working on blues tunes. I would encourage you to look at a book like this, the Real Easy book. This one has great charts in it, and they come in all the flavors, including flute and French horn. So you can have anybody in that band who wants to be in there. Teach them an easy tune by ear. Once they learn that tune by ear, they're going to own it a little bit better. When they memorize their tune, it makes it a lot easier for them to ornament the melody and take a solo. So, and that's a really great way to get kids to start improvising in the context of a jazz tune. Once they've memorized the melody, we just want to change a note or two in the melody, or maybe play a couple notes longer, or play a couple of notes shorter, or put in some rests where there wouldn't have been rests. These kinds of simple changes to the melody can turn into a pretty acceptable solo, and a way for them to feel like they sound good and the people in the room understand where they are in the melody, and they're not just playing a bunch of random notes. I tell my kids, you don't need to compose a new concerto. This tune already has a name. This tune already has a melody. Let's see what we can do with that. Another great thing about the Real Easy books is that they come with suggested bass lines. And I think it's really great if after everybody memorizes the melody, you have everybody play the bass line on their instrument. Then you can have one part of the room playing the melody, say all the woodwinds playing the melody and all the brass and rhythm are playing the bass line. Or you can switch it around so that all the woodwinds are playing the bass line, and for once, the trombones finally get the melody. I would encourage you to have your drummer learn to play the rhythm of the melody on their drum set. It's really important for them to learn to find the different tones, the high notes and low notes, long sounds and short sounds, and see if they can't play that melody on the drum set too. After everybody learns and eventually memorizes that melody, which is pretty easy on a tune like Bag's Groove or Sunny Moon for Two, and you have one section playing the bass line and the rest of the sections playing the melody, try to incorporate a way to keep their swing feel working as a unit. And there's a lot of different ways people teach this. I'm a big fan of la doodle, 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 and the accent being on the la. Some people go do da 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 do. If you have the students who are not playing during a solo saying this while the other students are soloing, it keeps them feeling that swing feel, putting the accent on the upbeat, keeps them engaged, and as I saw once, it helps keep the other players honest as far as where their solo is. So I think it's really good to use that doodle la doodle la doodle la doodle la doodle la doodle to keep them swinging together. Of course, there are a lot of different variations for the way the swing feels, depending on the speed of the swing and the style of the piece, whether or not you're going to have a really triplety feel or if it's going to be a lot smoother because the tune is faster. But that comes later. Don't worry. For now, get your kids swinging on a nice gentle tune and get them to say la do la do la do la do la do la do la as much as you can. If you can get your bass players gently swinging on 2 and 4, get them to pull just a little harder. Doom, 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 doom. Just a little bit longer, a little bit more on 2 and 4. It's going to improve the swing feel of your new band. With your drummer, you might not have a drummer who knows how to play kit, and it's not hard. It's not hard to get them started. I like to start my drummers with 2 and 4 on the hi hat, and then on the right hand, we're going to give them that nice little triplet feel, spang, spang, a lang, spang, a lang, spang, a lang. I've heard people say duck, Donald, duck, Donald, duck, Donald, duck. Just make sure that when they're playing the two together, you get spang, the lang, the lang, the lang, the lang, so that you have they're not going chick da lang, spang, chick da lang, chick da lang, chick da lang. Okay, don't let them put that accent on 1 and 3. So once you've got a group of kids showing up to play some loud and fast music, and maybe somebody will take a solo, I think you can get back to improvisation. And I do it in kind of a sneaky way with my bands because honestly, I teach the kids that jazz is what you do to the music. Jazz is what you do to the music. And I learned that from Daryl Grant. Jazz is what you do to the music. And so you could take Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I saw Ron Carter do this once in the clinic. It was just the most amazing thing. And take Mary Had a Little Lamb and play it one time. Do 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 do. It was great. It was kind of swinging, but then play it again for them and make some changes. Zoo boo boo doo boo doo ba doo boo doo ba doo ba doo boo doo 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 boo doo doo. So now here's a tune that they know, 3 notes, but you added something to the melody and made it fun. And if you can get them to do that, they can feel like they are doing the jazz because they are, and make it swing. Another really fun tune to play for them is Over the Rainbow. There's a tune that everybody knows and loves, but there are so many great performances of people taking that and really making it into something beautiful. I'm a big fan of Frank West and his treatment of Over the Rainbow because I am a flutist and I love Frank West. So if we've got them to ornament that melody, and either by adding notes or taking notes away or playing some notes longer or adding a trill or a scoop or a growl here and there, ask them to keep the melody playing through their head while they're taking their solo. Everything that they play should fit musically with what's in that melody. Um, Rhythmic alterations are easy and sound cool, and it's a really great way to make something interesting without losing your place in the melody. If you're giving your kids a jazz tune and there's a written solo in there, if your kids are still shy, have them learn the written solo with the goal of altering it. Sometimes there's a couple of measures of the solo that have altered chords or the changers are moving a little bit quickly. You can borrow from the written solo there if they're not quite ready to figure out how to use that E flat 9 sharp 11 to make it sound right, when really that chord is just reflecting the fact that the melody has a cool note. I'm going to mention the dreaded blues scale here. The dreaded blues scale and my disclaimer with it. There's a certain usefulness to teaching blues scales and letting students noodle, or as I like to call it, barf, over a blues scale. Young players in particular can find the colors of the blues scale intriguing and safe and cool. And I feel like if it gives them an opportunity and a vehicle to play out and feel good about taking a solo, it's an okay first step. It's especially a good call for call and response exercises with a teacher. And it's also good when you're trying to teach them to limit their solo ideas to 2 or 3 notes. Honestly, not enough young players really learn how to play over a blues very well. So there's no shame in working on a blues scale as long as you eventually teach them where it doesn't work. So just remember that is one of several baby steps and is not the first step and it's not the last step. So some tunes that I like to use to get my kids to improvise without making it a big deal. For my sixth graders, I use Louie Louie, and they love it because anybody can play a short little 8-bar solo, and I do it in the band key of B flat and let them take a little blues scale solo in there. And next thing you know, everybody's rocking out. And the one kid who learned to play before everybody else might be a superstar in your program is getting to take an improvised solo. It also gives you an opportunity to teach the band how to watch you for cues. And it's just really fun. So sometimes we have played Louie Louie in my classroom for upwards of 20 minutes, and it's a good thing I don't mind. For the seventh and eighth graders, I like to use C Jam Blues and Now's the Time and St. Thomas. Super easy tunes to improvise over, particularly St. Thomas, which works pretty well with a major scale. So for your improvisers who are shy, that's a great tune. Plus, it's a straight eighth note tune, sounds good at a variety of tempos. You can find recordings of it at a variety of tempos to give them something to listen to. So St. Thomas is a really fun tune to teach without even talking about the blues scale. If you're at home teaching like I am right now, we have a lot of opportunities to do things with our jazz bands this year that we don't always feel like we have time to do in other years, including teaching the kids about contrafacts. So where you can play one melody over the chord changes of another song. And I would encourage you to help them make up their own melodies, even if it means that in Mary Had a Little Lamb, we're going to lower the third. Something to make it cool and different, give them some opportunities to feel like they are contributing to the composition of the music without writing an entire new tune. If you give them permission to change the music, you will be amazed at what your students can do. Once you've gotten past the basic blues scale attack on solos or the major scale approach to solos, you can teach your band seventh chords. You can do it. Major, minor, dominant, half diminished, fully diminished. You can teach your band how to do this if they know how to play a major scale. It's worth doing. It's worth doing. I have my students in the advanced jazz band play a seventh chord warm up every day where they play the major chord, then they lower the seventh and they make the dominant chord, and they lower the third and make the minor chord, and so on until they're playing 5 seventh chords every day in 6 keys. This helps them. We also spend some time chanting the triads: C, E, G, C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, D, F sharp, A, major triads. I just have them chant them, gives me a chance to talk about enharmonic equivalents, and it gets it so that they can really spit out those triads quickly. I don't worry right now about sevenths because the way triads work, of course, you just extend to the next one. You find where the seventh is. So teach them major triads and have them memorize that. It's really, really helpful. Once you're talking about major scales and lowering certain chord tones, now you can have them build that blues scale instead of playing it by ear. You can have them build their blues scale in a couple different keys. And I think that's really helpful for them so that they can see the math that is going to go into that and that it's possible to do it in 12 keys. With my beginning jazz bands, I like to use a warm up that my mentor teacher, Joe Ingram, showed me, where the students will play their blues scale like this: a whole note for every note in the scale, going up and then down. When you get back down to the bottom, then you're going to play it in half notes, all the way up, all the way down, back to the bottom, up and down in quarter notes, back to the bottom, up and down in eighth notes, and then back at the bottom, up and down in 16th notes, with the trombones holding a pedal tone on the root. And gives your drummer a chance to practice their jazz drum set technique, and gives everybody a chance to really work on getting that blues scale underneath their fingers. It's worth doing. The kids like it. Um, they learn it pretty quickly in B flat, and then I have them, of course, move to other keys and do it there. Hello friends, I hate to interrupt the video right here, but I need to because I've run out of time for the Midwest presentation. If you would like to hear the rest of the story, including ideas on how to help your rhythm section sound good, follow the link on your screen to the bit.ly presentation. I look forward to seeing you in person next year at Midwest, and thanks again for taking the time to listen to some of the thoughts and ideas that I have for you about teaching beginning jazz band. I hope it's helpful, and feel free to write to me if you have any other questions. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again.